build quality education for the black nation. We're building quality education without colonization. Africa, yeah, Africa, let's come together, Africa, oh. Africa, yeah, Africa, let's come together, Africa, oh.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thebe Selema. He butchered it, but I understand why he butchered my surname.
I apologize.
Because they always call me Abiki Thebe. And because there's some notorious gentlemen in South Africa, similar but not so close. His starts with an MA, mine starts with an SE. His name is pronounced Malema. I'm Selema. There's a difference.
Yes.
Though we come from the same tribe, originally we are South African, migrated into Botswana, and I'm in Botswana. Your question earlier on how many of us speak to our parents about colonization, about our history. My mother doesn't like us speaking about her former country for obvious reasons. I think the memories were not so good. Now, I was given this topic to come and present, but maybe before I do, I would like to talk briefly about what really education is about. Earlier on, I gave him a book to just browse through called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Education can be used as a tool to oppress. It has been used before by the whites to oppress us black people.
Thank you.
Paseta gives us opportunity to decolonize the mind. For us to fight oppression is what Paseta gives us as an opportunity for us Africans. I had wished that I could speak. I was given the chance to speak after the agricultural presenter because I'm very passionate about the subject that I studied for so many years, agriculture, having done curriculum for so long. And I must confess that I'm one of those who contributed greatly to the oppression through education. As a curriculum developer, we were trained by Cambridge University to develop curriculum. It was at the time when Botswana was transitioning from the British education system to the so-called localized education system of Botswana. In that training or that transition, we were following the British education system. We were guided by Cambridge, so we perpetuated the same thinking. Now, as in education, we would like to move away from our Eurocentric kind of education that almost every country is using in the world, or at least in Africa, to a more Afrocentric sort of curriculum or education system that we want to have in Africa. How then is economics important? Why should our learners learn about economics? When you develop a program or a curriculum, the starting point is what is it that you want to achieve in the end? What kind of graduate? Earlier on we spoke about the kind of graduates we want to have. That is our starting point. If you remember, Steve Covey talks about starting with an end in mind. In education, there's a gentleman called Thebe, very famous or infamous in South Africa for obvious reasons. He was the first consultant that was engaged by South African government after independence, where now they brought in that idea of OBE, education, outcome-based education. Very controversial because people were resistant. It was bringing ideas that people do not want to listen to, especially the so-called traditional big universities like Rhodes University. Obviously, Rhodes was established through funding by Rhodes, who was a colonizer. So it's pretty obvious that they will resist any change that would empower black people. History is important. It's important in in that we get to learn about the past so that we can map the future. In history, we are taught about political systems, socialism, capitalism, socialism, capitalism, and all those. Those political systems are closely related to what we study in economics, where now we talk of your free market economy, we talk about mixed market economy, we talk about command economy, that is where government is at the center of everything. There's a close relationship between history and economics. What is economics? Traditional or classical economics is the study of allocation of scarce resources to satisfy our various unlimited needs. That is what we are taught. Okay? One thing that we need to understand is that us in Africa are seen as a resource to feed the unlimited needs and wants of the colonizers. We don't produce to feed Africa, we produce to feed the world. We don't process our products, we don't add value to our products. We send everything abroad, almost everything abroad. Now, coming back to why it's important for our learners or for our children to learn about economics. It's important because we want them not to be the same as us. The general topics that you're going to get in economics will be your supply, demand, the usual. How many of us here know about economics? Or have done economics? So you know those supply and demand and all those, but that is not enough. It is just theory that we learn, same as in history where we cram and then later regurgitate, you are given an A star and you think you have achieved. In economics, there's an important topic called entrepreneurship. That topic is what we need to be emphasizing, where in entrepreneurship, our learners are taught how to do businesses. We also have a topic called financial literacy. Usually financial literacy is not really covered in most curriculum, but it's important for our learners to learn about financial literacy. When you rate the two, that's when you get somebody who will be able, at the end of their study, who will be able to identify the needs, be able to process whatever it is that they need to process, add value, which is also another area that we also need to emphasize, value creation or value chain creation, where you convert whatever that you are producing, whatever activities that you undertake will give you the right products in the end. I would also want us to, for these graduates from the programs that we're going to offer, for them to also think about trading within the continent. Trade. We produce, but we don't trade as Africans. It's one of the areas that we need to emphasize in our training. The young minds are easier to pen out bit, better than us. And so it's important that we try as much as possible to educate these kids. I would want to give an example of agriculture. In agriculture, I hope I'm not preempting the presentation, but in agriculture, one thing that we need to understand is that the way we teach economics sometimes in agriculture is divorced from reality. In some curricula, they don't teach agri-economics, but agri-economics is important. You see, here there's an interface between economics and agriculture, where now we are saying we need to have economics in agriculture taught in greater detail. We need to have entrepreneurship education also taught in greater detail in agriculture or any other subject for that matter. History, one may not even think about history as a subject that we can derive economic value. Of course we can, If you combine history with technology, you create content. Content is value. That's economics. And so it's important for us to do all those. How do we then teach the subject? There are two ways in which we can teach the economic standards, education standards, that we can integrate in the different subjects. A student who's doing, say for instance, music, they can be taught how to derive value from music. There are certain topics in economics that they can be taught, that they can incorporate in their learning so that they can be able to produce value and make money out of whatever it is that they want to do. It is also important for us to understand that in whatever curriculum we want to develop for economics, these learners should be able to develop business plans and be able to run business enterprises in their own schools. It's important that they should learn by doing. In the curriculum that we want to have in the schools, it's important for whatever institution that we would be facilitating this, for them to do what we call education by production or education with production. They learn, produce, sell, the whole marketing, selling, everything that they need to do to derive value will also be undertaken in that sort of education system. Kim?
Yes, sir.
You are doing a great job. And I would like to commend all of us here who are here present. I do not have enough time to prepare, but I hope I've done justice to the subject. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.